What is it about Kratos? No, seriously, what makes Kratos so great? What is it about him that has earned him a place in the hearts of so many fans, including myself? Sure, he is a total badass that mows down anyone foolish enough to get in his way, but there is a very human side to this Greek god slayer you might not be aware of. He is an elite warrior that has a body count beyond reckoning, but there is more to him than meets the eye, and he has had more than his fair share of pain and grief. I'm RadTechShoe, and this is a hero story. The very first God of War game released back in 2005 and introduced us to one of the most iconic video game heroes ever. At the beginning of the game, we start off on a cliff's edge as our main character Kratos is about to commit suicide. We then flash back to the events leading up to this moment. We see Kratos, an elite Spartan soldier that has been serving the gods of Olympus for 10 years. He is in service to them so that he may be rid of a bunch of horrid dreams and memories that haunt his mind endlessly. The goddess Athena tells Kratos that he must run one more task for the gods. Kill Ares, the god of war, who is laying siege to the city of Athens, but Olympian law states that gods are not allowed to war with each other directly. Kratos asks that if he slays Ares, then the gods will make the visions end. Athena kinda sidesteps and avoids this question by simply stating that his past sins will be forgiven, but nonetheless, Kratos accepts. Kratos is instructed by an oracle that he must retrieve Pandora's box in order to defeat Ares. Kratos ventures into the desert of lost souls and finds the titan Kronos with a giant temple chained to his back. Kratos enters the temple, and as he ventures through it, we get more flashbacks of when Kratos was in charge of an entire Spartan army. He was on the verge of losing to a barbarian horde, and out of desperation, he made a bargain with Ares, the god of war. Ares agrees to help Kratos and gifts him with the Blades of Chaos, which is chained to his flesh as a reminder that Kratos' life was no longer his own. Now filled with a fiery bloodlust fueled by Ares, Kratos laid siege to village after village in service to his master. He arrives at one village in particular where an oracle tells him not to enter the temple. Kratos does not heed her warning and enters, whereupon Kratos slaughters everyone inside. When the dust settles, he is shocked to learn that the final two victims of his frenzied rampage were his own wife and daughter, who were secretly moved to that village by Ares without Kratos' knowing. This causes Kratos to renounce his servitude to Ares. Right afterwards, the oracle curses Kratos by attaching the ashes of his wife and daughter to his skin, giving him that white hue that would earn him the identity as the Ghost of Sparta. Before we finish the events of the first game, let's go back in time and look at some more of Kratos' backstory so we can get a better understanding of his character as a whole. God of War Ascension. This is 6 months after Kratos kills his family and forsakes his servitude to Ares, and he is confronted by the Furies, 3 female beings spawned from the chaos and violence of the War of the Primordials. These 3 have the duty of punishing all oath-breakers and traitors, which explains why they would target Kratos since he betrayed his oath to Ares. As Kratos' body and mind are under assault by the Furies, he meets a friendly figure called Orcos, who allies himself with Kratos by explaining that even though he is the son of Ares and Alecto, leader of the Furies, he is not the warrior that Ares wanted him to be, and Orcos instead served his Fury mothers and as one of their oathbreakers, and then goes on to explain to Kratos that the Furies wish to aid Ares in his attempt to overthrow Zeus and take control of Olympus, and since Orcos was not the capable warrior that Ares wanted him to be, Ares decided to invest in Kratos back when he was saved from those barbarians. This explains why the Furies are so invested in not so much punishing Kratos outright, but instead are trying to manipulate and convince him to return to his service under Lord Ares. The Furies have also used their powers to block and impair Kratos' memories of the past, including him killing Lysandra and Calliope, his wife and daughter. Kratos resists the Furies, killing them one by one, overcoming their attacks on his body and mind, until at the very end of the game, Orcos reveals to Kratos that the Furies made him Kratos' Oath Keeper. And to be truly free of the Furies' magic and regain his lost memories that are blocked off, Kratos must kill Orcos, the very last of the Furies. Kratos is reluctant to kill him since he's been such a good person and allied himself with him, but does so nonetheless. Immediately, the dark and violent memories of his past come rushing back to him, and he bears the full weight and burden of his sins. Kratos then marches off into the world to try and make up for the wrongs he has committed, and thus his 10-year service to the gods begins right afterwards. God of War, Chains of Olympus. Chains of Olympus takes place during that 10-year time period in which Kratos is serving the gods in order to get them to forgive him for his past and erase his haunting memories. The story starts off as Kratos successfully defends the city of Attica from the invading Persian army when the sun falls from the sky and a dark mist consumes the land. Kratos ventures forth to the temple of Helios and speaks with Athena, who tells Kratos that Helios has gone missing and Morpheus, the god of the night, has put the rest of the gods of Olympus to sleep. If Kratos does not find and free Helios, eternal night will rule the world. After conversing with Eos, the sister of Helios, we learn that Atlas the Titan is responsible for kidnapping Helios and that they are trapped in the underworld. Kratos ventures down into the depths of Hades, and after hitching a ride on Charon's boat, right after killing him, Kratos meets Persephone, wife to Hades and queen of the underworld. She tells Kratos that his daughter Calliope is in Elysium and that he can join her. But first he must be stripped of all powers and weapons and abandon the world, putting humanity in danger. Kratos, not caring for the struggles and suffering of other humans, cleanses himself by using the Forsaken Tree to be stripped of his godly powers and weapons. Right after being reunited with his daughter in a heart-touching moment, Persephone then reveals that she was the one who let Atlas free, and they are responsible for Helios' disappearance. She tells Kratos that Atlas is about to smash the world pillar, bringing down not only the gods of Olympus, but also destroying and killing all things, everything, all beings, including herself, Kratos, and Calliope. Kratos knows that in order to protect his daughter, he must leave her, and starts killing innocent souls in the Elysium fields, regaining his powers and becoming tainted once more as the ghost of Sparta. However, this also means that Kratos will never again be worthy of Elysium, and therefore forever gives up the chance to be with his daughter again. Kratos kills Persephone and chains Atlas to the roof of the underworld and saves all of humanity. But that matters very little to Kratos, since he forever gave up the chance to be with his daughter. A cruel twist of irony, as it was the selfish actions of an Olympian who caused Kratos so much pain and suffering. Kratos has a brief conversation with Atlas, where Atlas tells Kratos that he will regret what he has done this day, and that Kratos' trust in the Olympians to keep their promise to him is worthless. Kratos chooses to continue serving the gods faithfully, hoping that they will keep their word. Kratos returns Helios to the sky, and the game ends. And now that we are done with the past events, let's pick up where we left off on the first God of War game. Back at Pandora's temple, Kratos has bested all the traps and monsters inside and retrieves Pandora's box, but is killed by Ares, who throws a pillar at him. But even death cannot hold back Kratos' rage towards Ares. As he climbs out of the depths of Hades, thanks to the help of a gravedigger, he then retrieves Pandora's box, opens it, and fights on par with the God of War. Kratos strikes down his former master and then tells Athena to make good on her promise to rid him of his painful memories. Athena states that the gods forgive him of his past, but that they never really agreed to rid him of his painful memories in the first place. And thus the game returns us back to the cliff's edge, where we see Kratos throwing himself off from the very beginning of the game. Athena, however, decides to save Kratos and make him the new God of War, with Ares dead and there now being a vacancy in all. Thus, Kratos takes the throne and becomes the new God of War. And at this point, we have really been able to see so much. Kratos has gone through so much just to get to this point, just to finally get his revenge against Ares, but our story is not over yet. God of War, Ghost of Sparta. Shortly after becoming God of War, Kratos has a vision of his mother in the city of Atlantis. Athena warns Kratos not to go, but if you haven't noticed by now, Kratos' resentment towards the gods has only gotten worse. He journeys to Atlantis and finds his mother Callisto, who tells Kratos that his brother Deimos is still alive. You see, when Kratos was a small child, he had a brother who he trained with in order for both of them to become great warriors for Sparta. One day, Ares and Athena show up in a village and kidnap Deimos. It seems that an oracle foretold the destruction of Olympus would come at the hands of a marked mortal. Ares and Athena saw Deimos had an unusual birthmark and assumed he was the prophesied mortal. and Ares had him abducted. After Callisto tells Kratos that his brother is in the domain of death, she is transformed into a hideous monster and Kratos is forced to kill his own mother, which does not sit well. Kratos enters the domain of death and finds his brother and rescues him. However, Deimos is really angry at Kratos for taking so long to come rescue him, and the two fight it out, only to be interrupted by Thanatos, who kidnaps Deimos and then tries to throw him off suicide bluffs. The two brothers team up and fight together to fight off Thanatos. However, Deimos unfortunately dies in the battle, and a royally pissed off Kratos kills him in response. And then, in a nice, quiet, somber moment, we see Kratos carry Deimos up the cliff's edge and then has him buried by the gravedigger that we've experienced from past God of War games. Athena then shows up and offers to make Kratos a true and complete god now that all the ties to his previous life as a mortal have been erased. Kratos is still pissed off at the gods for being the root cause of all his pain and suffering. He rejects his offer and then states that the gods will pay for what they have done to him. God of War 2. Kratos has been through quite a lot already, so you'd think the gods would just leave him be and not give him any more justification to hate them. But in God of War 2, Kratos is attacking the city of Rhodes in support of the Spartan army, which he has taken a liking to and overseeing their conquest, making a bit of a callback to his days when he led his own army before he struck a deal with Ares. He descends from Olympus to deal the final blow to the city of Rhodes in support of his troops, disregarding Athena's warning to not make an enemy of the gods of Olympus. During his assault, he has a good chunk of his power sapped by an eagle and given to the Colossus of Rhodes, bringing it to life. Zeus offers Kratos the Blade of Olympus, which Zeus used to win the war against the Titans. Kratos pours his remaining powers into the blade, defeats the Colossus, but then Zeus shows up and uses the Blade of Olympus against a weakened Kratos, killing him. Kratos is rescued from the depths of Hades by Gaia the Titan, and she tells Kratos that he cannot return to Olympus now that he is no longer a god due to his powers being poured into the Blade of Olympus, which Zeus now possesses. She tells Kratos instead to seek out the Sisters of Fate so that he can travel back in time and challenge Zeus right at the moment when he was betrayed. As Kratos makes his way through the island of creation, he is met by some old faces and legendary warriors. He even encounters one of his own soldiers, who informs Kratos that Zeus has destroyed all of Sparta. Kratos meets with the sisters, but they tell him he is not meant to kill Zeus, and if he tries to change his fate, he will die. Considering Kratos' entire motivation for this game is revenge against Zeus, well, yeah, that doesn't sit well with him, and so he challenges the three Sisters of Fate. Kratos puts all three in their place, takes hold of his thread, travels back in time to fight Zeus, and as he is about to deal the killing blow to Zeus, Athena steps in the way and dies instead, but not before telling Kratos that Zeus is his father, and that Zeus fears that his son will overthrow him, just like Zeus did to his own father, Kronos the Titan. Kratos travels further back in time to the Great War between the gods and Titans, and brings most of the Titans forward in time, and the game ends with the Titans climbing up the side of Olympus with Kratos on Gaia's back, telling Zeus his son has returned and he brings the destruction of Olympus. God of War 3. Our story picks up right where we left off as the gods descend from Olympus to battle Kratos and the Titans. With every major god that Kratos kills, a tragedy befalls the world. Kratos kills Poseidon first, causing the sea levels to rise up and swallow most of the land. At the top of Olympus, Kratos and Gaia are met by a massive thunderbolt from Zeus, hurling them down the mountain. Gaia saves herself at the cost of Kratos, stating that he was just a pawn and a means to her ends of getting revenge against Zeus. Kratos falls into the underworld where he meets Athena, who tells him that he must find and use Pandora's box because it contains the power to defeat Zeus. However, the box is covered in the flames of Olympus, and no one, not even a god, can reach it. Instead, what he must do is he must find Pandora and sacrifice her to the flame in order to reach the box. And Kratos goes on quite the murder spree, killing Hades, which releases the souls of the underworld to roam free, killing Helios, which permanently blocks out the sun. He kills Hermes, Hercules, Hera, Hephaestus, the Titan Kronos. Matter of fact, I think the only legendary character that he doesn't kill is Aphrodite, for obvious reasons. Anyways, Kratos makes his way to the labyrinth in order to find Pandora. He rescues her and begins to take her up to the flame of Olympus. Even though she is not a real human, Kratos begins to care for Pandora, perhaps seeing her as a proxy daughter in place of Calliope. She is very strong-willed and wants to sacrifice herself to help Kratos. Kratos is hesitant when the moment comes, but as Kratos is fighting with Zeus, she sacrifices herself to extinguish the flame of Olympus. Kratos opens the box, but it is empty, meaning Pandora sacrificed herself for nothing. Gaia returns and tries to kill Kratos and Zeus. Both of them fight inside Gaia, where Kratos manages to impale Zeus with the blade of Olympus into Gaia's heart. Gaia dies, however Zeus' soul is unleashed and attacks Kratos' mind, plunging him into darkness and despair. Surprisingly, we manage to hear Pandora's voice guiding us. It seems as if part of her has taken up residence inside Kratos' spirit or soul or something, and she manages to help him break free of Zeus' grip by imbuing him with the power of hope. With this newfound power, Kratos is able to forgive himself for the sins of his past and break free from Zeus' control and kill him with his bare hands. Kratos' revenge is now complete, but the world around him has also paid the price for his actions. Athena then shows up and claims that the power of hope Kratos now wields was originally hers, and that she put it in Pandora's box a long time ago. Kratos says that the box was empty when he opened it, but that also points out the fact that Kratos had this power back when he first opened the box against Ares, meaning Pandora's sacrifice was indeed wasted because of Kratos' obsession for revenge. Athena then demands to have the power of hope returned to her. But instead, Kratos decides to impale himself with the blade of Olympus, spreading the power of hope to all of remaining humanity. Kratos actually manages to do something pretty unselfish, as hope is restored throughout the world. And thus, it looks like our main hero is about to bite the dust. Well, almost. And now, God of War 4. Our newest installment takes place years in the future. Kratos is alive and well and has a family in the far north of Scandinavia. Kratos, along with his son Atreus, mourn the death of Faye, Kratos' wife. They are attacked by a stranger who we think is looking for Kratos, and he fights on par with Kratos, and our dad of boy just barely manages to win. Knowing they aren't safe anymore, Kratos takes his son with him on his journey to spread Faye's ashes from the highest peak in all the realms, as it was her dying request. Kratos fears his son is not ready for the journey, but knows that he has no choice. Father and son go through quite a lot together, and we see Kratos not only as a warrior this time, but also as a mentor and as a father as well. Early on our journey, we meet a witch who we later find out is Freya, the mother of Baldur, the man who attacked us earlier. You see, the thing is, Baldur cannot die due to a spell placed on him by Freya. We also learn that Kratos is hiding his god status from Atreus, also making Atreus unaware of the fact that he is also a god. So, we have Kratos and Freya as parents acting in a way to protect their children, but in addition they are also protecting themselves. Kratos does not want Atreus to know of his dark past back in Greece, including the murder of his previous family, and Freya makes her son immortal so that she does not risk ever losing him. Father and son travel to the top of a mountain where they encounter Mimir, who informs them that the highest mountain in all the realms is in Jotunheim, realm of the giants. Mimir is then decapitated at his request, reanimated, and then joins our two on their journey. In order to reach Jotunheim, they're going to have to travel through a portal, and they need materials to make it happen. While in the process of collecting these materials, they encounter Magni and Modai, two sons of Thor. Magni is killed, however Modai flees and escapes, and Atreus falls ill shortly afterwards. You see, it appears that since Atreus thinks himself a regular mortal when he is really a god, it causes his body to fall weak and ill. The only remedy is in Helheim, and none of Kratos' current weapons can be of use there. Kratos knows of a weapon that will work, and goes on a slow and emotionally tense boat ride all the way back to his cabin. There he busts out the Blades of Chaos. travels to Helheim and gets the remedy and helps Freya patch Atreus right up. Kratos is urged by Freya to tell his son the truth about his heritage, and Kratos actually does. We get to see how far Kratos has grown and matured over the years. His past self would never open up to others like this, but to ensure his son does not fall ill again for the same reasons, he tells Atreus about being a god. After learning of his godhood, however, Atreus gets drunk and arrogant with power. They come across a severely weakened Modi, and Atreus just kills him for taunting him earlier. Kratos gets angry with Atreus, saying that his actions have consequences and that there was no point in killing him when he was already defeated. Yet another example of how Kratos has grown and matured, since we know his past self never hesitated to kick or kill a god when they were down and already beaten. Atreus eventually snaps out of his power trip and comes to his senses, and it's a good thing too because Baldur attacks once again late in the game. Father and son fight together while Freya tries to protect her son from conflict once Atreus breaks the spell that made Baldur immortal in the first place. Our heroes are victorious, but it looks like Kratos is about to fall back into his overly violent Ghost of Sparta days, but then in a surprise twist, he lets Baldur live. Baldur then tries to get revenge on Freya for making him immortal in the first place, which made it so that he could not only die but also couldn't taste food, wine, pleasure, or anything like that, and since Freya loves her son so much, she is about to let him. And as Baldur is about to strangle his own mother, Kratos then steps back in. He tells Baldur that the cycle ends here, we must be better than this, a callback to when Kratos killed his own father Zeus. Kratos seeks to end the cycle of kids killing their parents, and so he snaps Baldur's neck, killing him for real this time. Kratos opens up about his past even more towards Atreus, telling him that he killed many back in his time in Greece, many who did deserve to die, many who did not deserve to die, and that he even killed his own father. Atreus asks if this is what it means to be a god. Sons killing their mothers and fathers, and Kratos tells him, "We will be the gods we choose to be," meaning that they will not let themselves be bound by the fates of other gods, or in even Kratos' case, be bound by the darkness of his own past. He wants what's best for Atreus, and he does not want Atreus to take the same dark and violent path that he chose to take a long time ago back in Greece. The game ends with father and son reaching the top of Jotunheim and spreading Frey's ashes as they look out over the dead giants of Jotunheim. Both have endured many hardships and grown over the journey. Kratos has learned to open up to his son and trust him more, and Atreus has learned that his father is indeed a loving and caring person beneath his rough exterior. We got Father of the Year quality over here. Alright, now let's have a look back at what Kratos has been through and the journey of his character. He was originally a battle-hardened warrior who sold his soul to Ares for power and ended up killing his family, thus beginning his character arc. From then on, he was on a quest to have his haunting memories of killing his own family erased from his mind. After fending off the Furies and killing Orcos, he served the gods for over 10 years, only for them to refuse to give him what he wanted, which led him to trying to commit suicide. During that 10-year time frame, he was even denied the chance to ever be with his daughter thanks to the selfish actions of goddess Persephone. He eventually manages to kill Ares, and then he becomes the new god of war. After he becomes god of war, Kratos is reunited with his mother and then forced to kill her after she transforms into a monster thanks to a spell placed on her by the gods. He then rescues his brother Deimos, only for him to be killed by Thanatos shortly afterwards. It is very evident that anyone close to Kratos winds up dead. In God of War 2, he is betrayed by Zeus and accidentally kills Athena when trying to exact his revenge. Kratos then kills the entire pantheon, minus Aphrodite, and plunges the world into chaos on his quest to slay Zeus. His final act of defiance against the gods is to kill himself and bestow hope to humanity instead of giving it to Athena. Years later, he has grown to be patient, kind, opens up about himself, and is actually a pretty damn good father. Who would have thought that this is where we would end up with Kratos as a character? From a violent, self-serving brute who murders his way through life while carrying so much emotional baggage, to a father who trusts his son with his very life, and refusing to let himself or his son walk down that dark path he knows all too well. I love this evolution of Kratos as a character. He has been through so much pain and agony, and here we see him as the family man he always wanted to be, but the selfish actions of the gods caused him to lose everyone close to him. Family always was important to his character, but misfortune and corruption of the gods always caused him to suffer a cruel fate that he has now accepted and decided to move on from and focus on the future with his son. I cannot wait for the next God of War game and find out what is in store for Kratos. Thank you so much for watching and joining me on this epic journey through time as we looked at the evolution of Kratos as a character. I hope you enjoyed my first episode of A Hero Story. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you all next time.